How
fine.
you doing, mate?
Yourself?
Yeah, I was struggling there. I was failing hosting
Got
without you,
there? You
mate.
there in one piece?
I was drowning. I was
Good.
drowning.
How's things?
All good. Good
Good,
weekend?
mate. I'm looking up. Listen, the questions that I've had in so far, the comments. Yeah, today could be an interesting one.
No, it's just looking. It's looking. I've got mostly comments from one of the posts, um, and I'd like to. Before we start, we'll introduce ourselves, but and then I'll tell you how I want to try and structure it. But So I'm Rob Ursell. You can follow me at Urs10 on Instagram if you want to. You don't have to. It's not very interesting. Mostly just coaching sessions and stuff like that. And yeah, Dan,
Yeah,
do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Dan Edwards. Yeah, we're both one-on-one coaches, and yeah, if you're new to this platform, or new to the live, yeah, we are just giving our advice. So whatever we say, you take with a pinch of salt. We're fortunate enough to be pretty experienced in different levels of football. And yeah, sort of the platform that Sean, We Make Footballers, Project Footballer has created is a platform for us to help sort of educate and guide players, coaches, and parents. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so I think the overarching theme of tonight is going to be things I moan about from Instagram, from coaches and stuff like that, and the culture in England. I think that's what most of the episode is going to be about. Oh, there's only one place I think we have to start is Lanks the coach post. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna read out it out, and then we can discuss it a little bit. So just before we start, Lanks the coach. I don't know him. Okay, he is friends with Marcelo. He works with Marcelo at Chelsea. Um, I've never seen him coach. I've seen some of the content online. Looks good. Um, he posted yesterday the following: Dear all, developing young players should be rooted in a genuine commitment to their growth, not driven by the pursuit of Instagram views. Focus on holistic development. We as coaches should prioritize instilling essential skills, fostering a love for the game, and nurturing character traits that extend beyond the spotlight. Genuine progress may not always translate to immediate online popularity, but the long-term impact on the players' lives and the sport itself is far more significant than fleeting social media attention. Genuine development is about shaping future players, not just crafting moments for likes and shares. Dan,
Yes. This
have a go.
this this was needed, and I think we've
Yeah.
spoke about it for a number of weeks. And yeah, it's great that a coach has sort of said what a lot of people are thinking. Um, and some of the comments or some of the feedback might seem like it's a bit harsh. However, yeah, this is the reality, in my opinion. Um, Parents, uneducated parents, see a social media post, a video, a story of a young player doing certain skills and dance moves, and feel that it is a very good coaching session. And I think, yeah, there are a lot of Instagram coaches out there. And don't get me, listen, there's some that I've seen and I've stolen ideas from them. But
Oh, 100%. Even probably the ones that I criticized, I'm still looking at them and thinking, what can I learn that will make my sessions better? And I think you should be doing that. At the same time, we can
yeah,
also criticize.
and I think this is where my first thing for a one-on-one coach is, how much do they charge? That's the first thing. How much do they charge? Secondly, what are they bringing to the table that another coach can't, or you can't try yourself? And
I think you're speaking
yeah,
now as a
sorry,
parent, kind of, aren't you?
as a parent. So
This is what you, because Dan is a parent, if,
yeah,
in case anyone new is listening. Dan is a parent as well. So he's saying what he would look for in a one-to-one coach,
yeah,
I
my
think. Go on.
son's at QPR and under 12. So as a parent, how much is the one-on-one coach going to charge, first of all? Secondly, what are they going to bring to the table? How are they going to improve my son? And thirdly, what am I looking for it as a parent? And this is one of the conversations I had with Darius, who used to be on this live as well, is what are you looking for as a parent for your child to get out of the session? Some parents just want it to be a bit of fun. It's a bit of fitness, it's a bit of fun, something like that. It's
And that's
not for
fine.
them. Yeah.
And that is fine.
However, for me, my son is an under 12. I want him to develop and become the best footballer that he can and follow the football pyramid, follow the football pathway. So he's not there trying to do crossbar challenge for 30 minutes or doing kick-up challenges for 30 minutes. It has to be effective, productive, and it has to relate to him as a football player. So what he's learning in training, can he replicate that in a game? And my issue, what pushes my buttons with these Instagram coaches, is the sessions look sexy, look amazing, but it's not relatable. You can't replicate that in a game. Over to you.
I think there's another couple of issues with the what this coach is describing here with his post. Firstly, these videos that he's describing, trying to get social media attention, it's a business model. So the implication is, if you bring your kid to my sessions, your kid is going to be able to do this amazing skill. Okay, I have made this kid do this amazing skill. That's the implication. I know it's not outright said, but that is 100% what these coaches are trying to make parents believe. And it's not the case. A lot of them are taking the players from elsewhere that have, and that is absolutely fine to a degree as well. I mean, if I had a kid, I wouldn't want them to just train with one person. I would be kind of taking them to different places where I believe they could be helped. I wouldn't say, oh, because I've gone to this person, I have to necessarily stay with this person my whole life or whatever. You shouldn't feel tied to one coach, and one coach doesn't own a kid. Never. Okay.
Can I
But
interrupt you
at the
there?
same
Sorry.
time, go.
Those of you that are watching this live, there is a question box, the question mark. If you type your questions in there, because there's a lot of activity on the feed, so we may miss some of the questions. So if you submit your questions, any questions you have for us, into that question box, then yeah, we'll be able to keep on top of them. Sorry, Urs.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that any coach owns a player or any parent should feel they have to be loyal to a specific coach. But if I'm a coach, I would not want my marketing to be based on the work a kid has done before you've met him, and based on um, a lot of work that maybe one or two other specific coaches have done with that kid before you've kind of taken them. Like I said, it's not that you shouldn't work with other coaches, or you shouldn't, as a coach, you shouldn't feel you can't take another kid from another coach. I don't believe that, but trying to take credit for it, which is what is happening, I don't think that's right
And
at all. I think it's a bit
the
shameless,
flip
to be
side of
honest.
things, I understand the marketing tool. The reason why these
Oh,
coaches have
100%.
great videos. And me personally, I've been doing one-on-one coaching for the last four or 5 years, just concentrating solely on that. And for the last 3 years, last 3.5 years, I've not been bothered about the social media side of things. I've been working with some famous football players, and I've not been interested in social media side of things. However, since I have been, the last sort of 18 months, I have noticed that I've had a lot more inquiries, the Instagram followers. And this is what parents need to understand. The number of followers that your coach has does not mean they are a good coach. You can create very good videos, you can buy followers, you can create a brand for yourself, and no one will know anything about you. And I have noticed myself from working with a Premier League footballer that has over 8 million followers on Instagram. He has shared my post, he has tagged me in his post. That does nothing for me as a coach apart from make my number of followers go up. So there are a lot of questions that we have had. This coach is good. This coach has got over 100,000 followers. This coach has got 50,000 followers. The number of followers a coach has means nothing. So please do not judge a coach on the number of followers they have. That is the most important thing. Even if they produce really sexy, glamorous videos, like that
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything.
here's what I'd say on that. If I was a parent myself, my advice to parents would be, rather than looking at a video and seeing which coach has the best players, I would look for testimony from parents that have worked with the coach that you want to work with over a long period, and see what improvements they've made, not just to their technical level, physical, psychological, all of it, but like Dan says as well, trying to educate them a little bit about how you should kind of approach life, behave, things like that.
But then,
Yeah,
the other side of it, I understand why coaches film during their sessions. I understand why, and that doesn't make them a bad coach. This is just the new way now, where everything is on
yeah.
social media.
So I hate doing the self-promotion thing as a coach. I didn't mind as a player being like confident and posting myself, but I think when I started to slow down as a player and I saw the new like wave of like social media posting about, oh, unfortunate that we lost 7-1 but happy to score and stuff like that, I became a little bit more self-aware of what I was putting out there, and more reluctant to promote myself, to the point where like last week I'm promoting someone's coaching who is trying to compete basically for the same kids as me that I've never even met. Rather than promoting myself, I said that guy graph committee, I really like what he's doing. I had no, like, I should be, or not I should be, but I think if I was many of the other coaches, and the same for you and Darius, we would use this platform to really self-promote. And I think uh, maybe the reason we have this platform is because we're not doing that.
And I think that just
But
shows, yeah, sort of us as we're here to develop coaches, players, and parents. We could advertise our services. We could, someone's put, who is that you're talking to? This could be any coach. So we're not going to name coaches. One thing I would
yeah,
say
there's
is
not one
there's a
person. There's not
lot
one
of
person.
coaches.
There's plenty. There's
And it's
plenty.
just, there are,
It's a very saturated market. There's a lot of coaches around, and it's not like, it's not, even if you think someone's talking about one specific person, that one specific person has got all his ideas from many other people. So it's not like this is not
and
aimed
it
at one
is
person
our
at all.
job to try and educate you parents, because you're the ones that are paying for these services. It doesn't matter if you sent your son or daughter to Tom, Dick, or Harry. Regardless of how much they charge, I'm presuming 9 times out of 10, they're going to have fun. They're playing football. It's a one-on-one session or a small group session. They're going to have fun regardless of the price. We just want to try and educate parents to try and do a bit more research. Don't just throw your money. We'll come on to money in a minute, but don't just throw your money at a coach just because they have a great platform on social media. It's really important that we try and educate parents that will. And again, Urs has played. I am a parent. We are both coaches, so we are ticking quite a few boxes to understand what is a good coach, what I wouldn't say is a bad coach, but what coach is charging a lot more than what they should do. And again, when it comes to money, how much are they charging? Is that reasonable enough? What gives them the right to charge for that amount? And you as a paying customer, as a parent, you have to question these things. I have had it with Premier League footballers, players that are on a lot of money, that want free sessions if they post my session on their social media. And these are millionaire football players. Premier League football players that are questioning my session, what are they going to get from it? Or their agents questioning me about the session. And it's about the service. That's all this is. So regardless of whether you're charging £500 for a training session or £20 for a training session, as a parent, you need them to justify what you are getting from this service, because you're not going to be able to see that from a 45-second video on Instagram. The coaches have to take into consideration, they have to pay for the pitch as well. So whether it's just you're paying for the coach's time and then you pay for the pitch, or whether everything, their travel time, their coaching time, the travel, the pitch costs. There's a lot of other costs involved for coaches, but you just need to have that. Don't be afraid to have that conversation with a coach.
Yeah. Tom is going to join us. I'll just hopefully I've accepted it now. Let's see. Is that right? There we go. All right. Hello, mate.
What's going on? How you doing?
Right. Tom, this is Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Dan,
What's
Tom.
up, mate?
Let me just give an introduction. Tom, you've cut off the bottom of your face.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
see.
Right. So,
Am I good now?
well, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, fine. All right. So this is Tom Abassi. He's currently a coach in the United States. He was my roommate for England futsal about 15 years ago, nearly now. He went to play professionally in America, and since then he's become a coach. You still play it? You're still playing a bit as well, kind of.
Had a game yesterday, actually.
How'd you get on?
We lost 4-3, but I'm just happy I played, to be honest. I was coming back from a calf injury, so the fact that I got on the field, I was very happy.
Good stuff. Right. Just so last week we advertised basically for a coach to come on to argue with us, and I know what it looks like. They've just got their mate on. Dan's never met Tom at all. I have met Tom, but Tom direct messaged the Instagram account, and Sean said, "Yeah, let's do it." And basically, the reason he's on is because he has not completely, but definitely a different opinion on ball mastery and coaching at foundation level to probably what me and Dan do. So let's start, Tom, with the big question, I suppose, that we've been asking. Go on, sell us ball mastery.
Well, I think ball mastery, I think it gets a bad rep because even when I think of ball mastery, I think of unopposed players doing, borderline dance moves with a coach saying, all right, take 20 touches like this, take 20 touches like that. When I think ball mastery, I think comfortable on the ball, being able to stay on the ball. And what does that entail? I think that comes down to the nuts and bolts of your session, what you're doing with kids.
So there's two things there, though. Sorry, let me just pick that. Being comfortable on the ball and and staying on the ball are two different things. And being comfortable on the ball is so important, so important. But staying on the ball is usually a bad decision because you shouldn't have the ball for very long in football.
Well, yeah. I think maybe it's more the phrases we're using, but for me, being comfortable on the ball, staying on the ball, being able to hold the ball under pressure, they all fall into the same category of a player who's skillful. And I think when we talk, and in my mind, I'm talking about grassroots, I'm talking about development ages, maybe U10, U11, U12, those sorts of ages below is when a player needs to develop those skills. Because I feel as though those skills are much harder to develop later down the line.
And what would you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's about teaching bad habits. I think there are a lot of players that I see now. So my son, who is an under 12, you have the foundation phase, which is under 9s to under 11s. You see a lot of players now under 12s up to under 15s that you can see have had 1,000,001 one-on-one coaches. And my son is at a category 2 football academy. Now, when I see some of the Cat 1 academies, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, they have minimal touches on the ball. Whereas you can see some of the players at weaker academies or even grassroots teams that have had great one-on-one coaches, so many one-on-one sessions that are just taking too many extra touches. And my issue with that is where they've been taught to be comfortable, which I totally agree they need to, but sometimes they're getting over-taught it. So they're doing the extra touch, the extra skill. Whereas when they want to get to the next level at academies, they're taking 2 touches extra than what they need to. And better players know when to do it in 1 or 2, whereas some players are used to doing it in 4 or 5 because the coach makes them do a Zidane, a Joe Cole, and a step over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I hear that. I do think though that comes down to how how the child or the player has learned their skill. For example, if I was doing, from the earliest age, I think players should be essentially a ball each to a degree. The nuts, the meat of a session. It's a ball each. They're having lots of touches on the ball, but it's what context are they learning those skills? If it's just stay on the ball for no apparent reason, they have to understand why. If you do a 2v1, that's 1 ball between 3. Okay, players, they're going to know, okay, when do I pass? When do I dribble? If you do a 1v1, the player's going to be probably mainly dribbling. But I think at those early ages, that's what players need. I think they need to fall in love with the ball first, the ball at their feet, before they can really understand or learn, okay, I need to pass when here, I need to move here. I feel as though that element is a higher level of thinking that they need to get down the road in my mind.
So where someone has said about completely right. So there's different phases. So for the parents and coaches that aren't aware, in academy you have foundation phase, development phase, professional. There's different phases for the age groups. The foundation phase, which is sort of even from pre-academy, so from under 6 up until under 11s, everything is on the ball. Everything is 1v1 domination, the technical side of things, ball mastery, using all of these nice, sexy, glamorous words. However, you will then notice when it gets to the development phase, the next phase, so from 12s to 15-year-olds, what players are not able to transition into that phase because they've been taught so long, hold on to the ball, do a skill, do a Zidane, do a step over. They're bringing that into the next phase. And my concern with that is that the better players understand when and where to use it. But the majority of players, because their coach is just teaching them to do all of these skills one after the other, they don't know how to implement that in certain areas in a game. So I'm not saying, players need that from 6 to 11 because it's teaching them foundations. It's about their movement coordination. But the coach needs to teach them when to do it, how to do it, how to execute it, the minimal amount of touches. So yeah, that's me.
So yeah,
Hold on. So Tom, you said to me, I think that's so much harder to learn later. So what were you talking about specifically? Dribbling at people, using your skills to get past people, maybe?
I think the more numbers we introduce to a session. So for example, if it's 1v1, if you start a 5-year-old playing 1v1, you can get a 5-year-old, 2 5-year-olds to play 1v1. They're going to dribble, they're going to run into each other, they're going to do whatever.
No, I understand that. Here's what I'm saying. You said if you focused on the fundamentals earlier, okay, and then you tried to add on the more elaborate bits later, you said it was harder to learn I'm assuming you mean like the dribbling, running at people, getting past people. You think that is a harder thing to learn later on. Is that right?
To a degree, but I would more say it's the ability to possess the ball in a group situation is more difficult to do than when you're younger. For example, if an ideal session or an ideal development of young players is they're playing a lot of football. They're playing small-sided games. They're playing 3v3, 4v4. The less structured, probably the better at the younger ages. If you tell those players, okay, now I want you to pass, I've got, multiple teams that I've coached or coach at the moment. If I say, hey, I want you to do possession, I want you to, possess the ball better, I want you to do, that's a harder skill for me as a group for them to do, as opposed to a 2v1, okay, or dribbling.
It is a harder skill. It is a harder skill. And people think it's easier because passing the ball is more simple than doing 5 step overs and then an L turn. But passing the ball properly is a harder skill, and understanding where to be and when to be there is a harder skill than anything you will do on your own, because it takes collaboration. And this is why I think you should be introducing these concepts slightly younger than we do here, not too much. Okay, I do agree at 5, 6 years old, I don't think players can even kick the ball hard enough generally to. Although I did have a really good group with Marcelo's kid today, who's 4, who could pass the ball really well, and 2 5-year-olds. They were passing the ball pretty well, but generally. I agree. It's hard to do that with those age groups, but once you get to 7, 8, 9, it is way too ignored in our culture. And yeah, I think what I was going to say to you, Tom, was where did you learn your 2 most effective dribbles?
I think, well, you know, I learned them from you when I was about
All right.
18,
What were you,
19.
5 years old? 5 years. Oh, right. So you can
I get what
actually
you
develop.
said. Yeah, but Rob,
So you can develop that later. Yeah.
but I think the point is, I think we're missing the overarching point of player development. Okay, because we the fixation seems to be, even in this conversation, I was just drawn into it first before I took a step back and thought about what am I actually talking about. Is that we're looking and saying, if we develop kids this way at this age, by the time they get to this age, they're not going to be as good as they could have been. Okay, that seems to be the overarching idea behind the conversation. But I would change the frame a little bit and say the reason the best players are the players who enjoyed the game when they were young. And I think if you're trying to make a kid possess the ball, pass the ball, I want you to pass the ball. You know, you could tell that to young players, pass the ball, pass the ball. But young players like to stay on the ball. They have a relationship with the ball. Like most players I've spoke to, even preparing to come on and speak to you, I asked them, like, what did you do? What made you so good on the ball, such a good player? You know,
go to Spain, Tom. Go to Spain and have a look what kids do there, or Brazil. Like they play a completely different game to what is going on here. It's crazy.
Well, yeah,
I think
there might be differences.
They do develop their dribbling. They do, but they also develop an appreciation of people around them, which we don't. Not to a good enough level here. It's not enough focus. And most importantly, there's so many coaches who completely disregard it. I think that's the most jarring thing to me, is it's completely disregarded by so many coaches. And I think the reason they disregard it is only 2 reasons. They don't understand it properly, or it doesn't fit into what they're trying to represent to parents to sell their coaching. It's never, I don't think it's ever truly, oh, this is not going to help them be a better player. I don't think it's
so. What element specifically do you think is disregarded in England that they value more in, say, Brazil?
Passing, moving, receiving, especially. But within that, there's so many things going on. But passing, moving, and receiving are very, very underutilized, undervalued, under-respected by a lot of coaches here.
I'd say one, to prove that, you'd have to show that the level is worse here than it is in those countries, for one, which I wouldn't say, considering England, the population, you know, Brazil has obviously way more players playing football than Spain.
Hold on. Let me stop you there. Yeah. England have won 0 World Cups since Brazil have won like 3 or something like that, isn't it? Or anyway, Brazil have undoubtedly been a more successful national team long term. And we're talking about long-term culture here, not the current crop of players. And the current crop of players in England is very good, and I would say has more depth than Brazil. But we have the most money here. We have the most money in our academies. We are the most privileged, and on top of that, I think the most important thing is when the kids come through here and eventually do start to train with their first team, they get to train with every one of the best coaches in the world, basically, in the Premier League. It's all the best coaches in the world. You can't tell me that working with the Pep, Klopp, Arteta, all the top coaches at the top of the Premier League is the same as working with the coaches in the Brazilian league.
Yeah, but
you can't tell me that. It's completely.
But then we've gone.
Throw something out there, and just reading some of these comments, people saying about England are doing better than Spain. My one thing to say, and this is from my 23 years of coaching, the coach education courses that I've been on, what the FA have put on, the amount of money that England have, the resources that we have, the foundations, the academies, pre-academies,
it's not
grassroots.
It's not a level playing field at all.
This is where England have invested so much more financially into the development of football. And
do you know what England is? It's great marketing.
right,
They've marketed the Premier League so well that they're bringing in so much money that they've
and this
completely
is,
like blown everyone else
don't
out of the
get me,
water.
for the last 5 years, England have been producing very good players, and now all of a sudden everyone's saying it's this golden era. However, for longevity, how many years have Spain been playing amazing football? Have Brazil been playing amazing football, producing player after player? Don't get me wrong, Bellingham, where everyone was going on 3 years ago, everyone was going on about Sterling, Lingard, Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Saka. Now, over 3 to 5 years, who are we still going on about? However, with the Spanish national team, with the Brazilian national team, because of their development and the lack of funds as well, for what they produce compared to how much funding has been put into their country, we should be 10. And I'm agreeing with these comments about what England have done, but England should be producing that because we are investing hundreds of £1 million more than the other federations.
I really think you should not underestimate the impact that Pep has had in producing players in every country he works in. So he was in when he worked in Spain. Okay, so he's working with and against the top Spanish players. They won everything. He left. He went to Germany. Germany won the World Cup. There was an all-German Champions League final. He left, went to England. England completely dominates now. Completely dominates in Europe. The national team is doing better than it's ever done consistently. Better than it's ever done. Still short of winning, but better than it's ever done. It's not a coincidence. It's been happening since 2008. So this is not a coincidence. Being coached by Pep or having to work against Pep as a player influences massively the level of the players in that country. It's been doing it for a long time.
Just from these comments. So one of them was money doesn't develop players. Okay, tell me a poor academy that has developed any players to a certain level. The next one is why are France never mentioned? Listen, France, Belgium, there's all these countries. Yeah, we're just saying Brazil and Spain as an example. But if you was to compare how much money England have put into the FA, how much
it's stupid
compared to any other football federation, it is completely different. And
I think
go. And yeah, we are not saying England haven't produced this, England haven't done well. There isn't a philosophy. We've got the 4-corner module for the coaches that are watching this that have gone through sort of the FA's coaching pathway. We have this.
I've got a point on that in a minute.
But the money that has been invested means we have academies, pre-academies. We have advanced centres filtering you into academies. This isn't replicated in any other countries to this level. And I can guarantee that I have been to France, Spain, Holland, and Germany for coaching courses, coaching seminars, and what we provide in England is the best in the whole world. Any English coaching qualification is more respected as an English FA qualification than getting one in the US or in Ireland or in France. So that just shows the power that the FA have.
I would just disagree with kind of both of what you've said in terms of the obsession with money. I just think this obsession with money, like money at the top levels. Okay, if Man City spend 200 billion and someone else spends 10 billion, okay, Man City are going to win. I get that. But when we're talking about developing players, England, UK, it's limited by their population. So it doesn't matter if you had the best coaches everywhere. Brazil has more players. Spain has loads of players. Like I'm not saying it's just the numbers, but my point is,
does Spain have more players, or I just wanted to check you on that.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but my point.
I don't think they do.
My point is this.
I don't think they do.
Okay, I'm sure it's comparable, but my point is this: the cultures of countries Like, for example, US has probably puts more money in than the UK. You talk about the UK, the US probably puts way more. Parents, I live in the US. I work for clubs here. What they're paying coaches, what parents are paying is unbelievable. You couldn't believe it. Over here, coaching is a full-time job for coaching grassroots soccer. You're getting paid. You can have a house, a car on that salary, coaching 2 teams, 3 teams. Okay. My point is, it's about the culture. Brazil has its own culture. Spain has its own culture. England has a very strong footballing culture, and we produce tons of good players. We have great players in our leagues, but because, as you mentioned, we have a lot of money in our leagues, we have a lot of foreign players in,
All right.
so our teams are the best.
So
I can accept that. But when it comes to developing
that
players, I don't think because our coaching
hold on.
qualifications are higher, that has a huge impact, in my opinion.
So Yuri's just said it's nothing to do with the population. He gave the example of Portugal, where he's from, um, Italy, and I missed the other one. But also another really big example is Holland. Holland has a tiny population. I think Belgium as well. I'm not sure the population in Belgium, but Holland is tiny. And what they produce, I know the current national team is not great at all, nowhere near England's level. And it shouldn't be because the population is like 10 times smaller. But what they produce technically and tactically, I think pound for pound is so far above what England does even now, pound for pound. I'm not talking about the quality of Dutch players coming through is better than the English because it's not. But what they do based on what their resources and their population is that they're outperforming England by a long way for me. Sorry, go on to Dan. Anything on
Quick,
that?
if we could go off topic in terms of just with regards to if I'm a parent and I live in the US and I want an hour session for my son, what would a rough price be for a coach to give?
Dan's looking for a
Mate,
move.
Give a
I'm
1 hour.
telling you, Dan, you would not believe the prices here. I've been here so long, it's almost normal to me. But when I think back, it's insane. You can get, I know people who have, I have to say, the audacity. They'll charge $120 a session, and they won't even blink. They won't even blink when they tell the parents that. You know, for me, that's
That
crazy to me. They
happens
have,
here. That's not something that doesn't happen here as well.
For
That
me,
happens here.
it's insane. If I grew up, or I'm sure Rob, the average player who's playing in the Prem right now, if that was the scenario, they wouldn't have any individual sessions. And in fact, I'd say a lot of them probably, I don't know if they did or didn't, but I don't think 1v1 coaching at a certain point, I'm not sure how valuable it is at the younger ages, especially. That's just, I think if a kid loves soccer and you want to use it as a way to, help them enjoy soccer more, I understand that. But the money that's being charged here, it's a business for me. And people aren't getting return on their business. And I'd probably say it's similar in England, but I don't know the ins and outs. I do see some of the videos Rob sent me, and I'm not impressed by a lot of the stuff I see, if I'm being honest. To kind of echo what you
So
guys were saying at the start, I would agree with most of that.
we did the episode, Dan, a couple of months ago with Darius, and I know Tom has watched it as well. So I was kind of a little bit like thinking similar to Tom that that's too expensive or whatever. But then I look at what other coaches are charging, and then Darius kind of broke it down. Not to me, he was just speaking generally. He was like, I've had this experience, I've done this, I've invested this much time in it, and this is what I value my time as. And when you, like Dan said, the parents can ask to justify what they're paying for. Darius made a great job of basically justifying why he charges. I don't know what he charges, but whatever he charges, why he charges it, and selling it to me the fact that this is like you charge what you feel your time is worth and what your experience is worth.
No, I
And
get that. I get that completely, and I charge. I do 1v1 sessions. Same, and I charge. I definitely don't charge that. If anything, I make a point to just charge what I can live with myself. But I also do think if we're looking at development, 1 hour on a 1v1 session at a young age, like let's say U11, U12, at those ages, anything below there, for me, a player will be better playing football for an hour with their peers, unstructured. If you're asking me for development, what would be better for them? For me, there's not even close to the question as to what it is. So I just think it's parents not knowing, it's parents not
I really
understanding.
think, Tom, hold on. I really think like I've got to pick you up on that. So my best coach that I've had is probably a guy that I had for Baku futsal when I came back to England. He won the World Cup as a player with Spain futsal and the Euros as a player with Spain. If you would have said to me, would I develop more by playing with my mates in an unstructured game or having an hour with that guy? It would not have
At
been
what
close when I
age?
was a
At
10-year-old. It
what
would
age,
not,
Rob?
when I was a 10-year-old, it would not have
Wait,
been
sorry, I
close. I
missed
would have
that.
learned,
What age?
as a 10-year-old, for example, I would have learned so
No, but
much more.
Rob, you're thinking of this as an adult right now. You're not thinking of it as a 10-year-old or
I
you know,
am.
you
I'm going to interrupt as a parent now. So since my son is under 12, I keep saying this, but it's only recently that I have sort of tried to get him more into one-on-one coaching. And he's under 12, and I wish I would have started this. And this is for parents when your child is at under nines. If you're fortunate enough for your child to be at an academy, I would always recommend one session a week with a one-on-one coach, because they're getting 3 different sessions with their academy team, 2 or 3 a week. However, they need that environment, or I feel with academy players, and it's a psychological thing as well, but they need that environment where they are being pushed and it's solely on them. A coach's job, if your child is at any club, the coach's job is to work the whole team, develop the whole team. So when your child is doing a little mistake, it's very hard for a coach to see the mistake that they're doing. However, when it's a one-on-one session or even a small group session, the coach solely has to focus on them players. So I would say, and yeah, if you're grassroots pre-academy, then yeah, don't waste your money getting a one-on-one coach if you can't afford it. But if you're at an academy level and you want that one-on-one extra session, I never done it for my son, and I wish I did. And it's just about creating good habits, repetition, and he works harder in one-on-one sessions than he would in a group session. So it just depends on what level you're at, is my opinion as a parent.
yeah,
So I just wanted to read.
carry on. Sorry,
Go
Rob.
on, Tom.
Yeah, man.
Go on, Tom. Go on, Tom.
I was just gonna say, I think people get clouded a little bit, because if you did a one-on-one sessions with players, they're gonna get better at what you do in those sessions. But for me, I think you miss out on the important point, which is that one, they're children, and how much choice do they get over, you know, what they're doing. You know, if your aim is, okay, I want to make my kid a player in the future, and that's why you're doing 1v1 sessions at a young age, I just think you're missing, kind of back to that first quote you said from the guy who mentioned
Yeah, I
holistic.
agree with that. I agree with that. That shouldn't be the motivation for a parent. I'm going to make my kid a professional footballer. The motivation should be investing in a hobby that the kid loves, whether they're the best kid in the world or whether they're a grassroots player. The motivation that a parent should have, for me, in investing in coaching is because the kid enjoys it first and foremost, above
I don't
everything.
want to sound,
Like, you shouldn't be.
I don't want to sound like a pushy parent, but being a parent, I gave my son that choice for 2 or 3 years, where he knows what I do. He knows the players that I work with. We have the facilities here. He wasn't bothered about doing one-on-one coaching. So I never done that for him. He didn't want to do any one-on-one coaching. We done no sessions. I slightly regret that now because of the bad habits that he does have. And I feel if I would have took him to a one-on-one coach, or even if I just would have trained him myself, then them bad habits wouldn't be bad habits at the moment. So I feel it's just, yeah, I gave him the option. He wasn't bothered about doing one-on-one sessions, and I regret it now.
So just on the bad habits thing. So I've seen kind of the end result, I suppose, of this generation of kids when they get to like under 18s, under 17s, that kind of age, and they're doing like an L turn or a step over, and they're just like, at this point the game.
What a waste of love.
Is semi-serious. They're playing at a college level. It's only a college level, but the game is serious in that they're trying to win with their mates, and there's pressure on them that they put on themselves and they put on each other. They're a team now, so they're actually trying to win. The focus of the game is not to now develop so much as a player as well. I suppose it was for a handful of the students, but generally it was kind of to win as a team and to enjoy it. And I was seeing like people get out of trouble somehow and then do another L turn or something and just slow themselves down. And that is 100% the product of the current culture of basically promoting like freestyling, basically what most of these coaches are. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a freestyler, but I just think coaches should be aware that that's what they're selling. And then they should make parents aware that these skills are not really for a football match, but they are going to help you if you want to be a freestyler. And I'm not looking down on like people that freestyle. So it's a really good, like really fun thing. The kids absolutely love it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And you can make a good living out of it. But it's just a different game. It's like, it's not sport. It's a different hobby, a different job, I suppose is the right term.
There's a coach whose videos are always on my feed. I don't follow him, but his videos are always on my feed. And he does 6 or 7 skills back to back to back to back to back to back to back with a shot at the end. I'm not going to name this coach. His sessions may be amazing. My issue with that, and I'm a one-on-one coach, I'm very competitive. I want to be the best. So any session that I see, I don't want it to be better than mine. So I might be a bit envious as well. However, you are not going to do 5 or 6 skills back to back in a game and then have a shot. My one thing as a coach, work on one skill, develop it, repetition, 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 and perfect it. Because in a game, you've got that short of a period where it's in, out, you shoot, or it's a step over, you set it back. When you're learning time and time, and that's the bad habits where psychologically these children are doing these skills back to back, and they think, right, they memorize it, step over, Zidane, drag back. And then it happens in a
and
game.
It becomes muscle memory.
Yeah, and then it happens in a game where they don't have it.
What you've just described, I know I can relate to that, having all these skills and then having to streamline them later on. And Tom is the same because he's nicked my skills to do it. Is we came away completely from trying a load of different skills. That's not to say we didn't express ourselves in games, we did. But we went to one thing that would get us onto our right foot and one thing that would get us onto our left foot that worked very, very consistently. And we got very good at those two things. Is that fair, Tom?
By the way, there's a comment here at 800. I wish these guys knew more about this topic before they spoke on it. Please, either we would love you to join us now, press that link button, come and join us, or just put your comment at the bottom with what you do or don't agree with. And just to repeat again, everything that we are saying is just our opinion. We are not saying we know everything. We've all got different journeys, from these guys playing nationally for the country, from me coaching Premier League players. Like we have been on a journey, whether it's a coach, whether it's me as a parent, we have been on a journey, and we just feel we have a lot of knowledge, and we would like to give some guidance towards players, parents, and coaches. So if you don't agree with us, that's fine. We're just giving our advice. But
just to clarify, I have had no video request yet from this individual.
And I do wish I knew a bit more about this topic. So I will let the 14 Premier League football players and 2 World Cup winners that I work with know that I don't know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
So, right, I just want to go to one comment that I've read on Instagram, and it is kind of to rip the comment a little bit, but also to talk about the football culture a little bit. So I'm going to read this out. Any good session, I'm assuming, would be coaching a wide range of capabilities, and all sessions would have a clear emphasis across the 4-corner model. However, a big focus in the foundation phase should be on ball mastery, 1v1 domination, etc. You could also say there's too many sessions you see on Instagram where players scanning a color and receiving a certain. Surely, that's fine. But the first bit where he's talking about the 4-corner model and the foundation phase and ball, and there should be focus on ball mastery, 1v1 domination. I'm sorry, but it sounds like you ate the FA handbook. That's what it sounds like, honestly. And here's what I'm going to say to you. So we've all done coaching courses through the FA. Has anyone done any coaching courses that are not through the FA?
No.
No. So yeah, we've all done coaching courses, and our only source of learning in that respect has been the FA. Okay. Here's the problem with that. Myself and Tom, we played for a person who was responsible for a lot of that criteria. And look, obviously nothing personal against the guy, but this person, he's not the be all and end all of football. He wrote this thing, and everyone has taken it as fact and will never question it again. They leave their coaching course, they get their qualification, and now whatever was said in whatever year it was, 2005 or whatever, whenever they did their course, is now accepted in their mind as an unquestionable fact. Okay, and that is not the case. That's not the case at all. Okay, because I've been coached by not just one, two or three of these people who are responsible for the syllabuses and writing these coaching courses, different coaching courses, the national coach for 5 to 9 year olds, stuff like that. They're not like football geniuses. I'm sorry. I've played for some really good coaches who I'm like, wow, this person understands football on a next level. I'm learning so much just by sitting in this person's presence. These people were not those people. I'm telling you that, and they are responsible for the whole syllabus that not everyone, but many coaches and many coaches reading this have learned and accepted as fact, and it's not the case. Anything on that, Tom?
Yeah. I would like to think, and even speaking to the coaches that I know who are more advanced with their licenses and things like this. With the early licenses, they told me a lot of this stuff was useful for just understanding how to plan a session, as opposed to more what was going to be in it. But I think a lot of it is once they get that piece of paper, they get that certificate, they get that license, I think they kind of go, and I would like to think, and the coaches I know, they kind of go and do their own thing. So I couldn't really relate too much to a coach who, doesn't have a strong sense of football, and then he'll go and do a course and all of a sudden come out thinking, the course was,
please, everyone who takes your level 2 or level 3 or whatever, don't take it as fact, anything that you've been taught. Okay. Question everything, because football moves on at a ridiculously fast rate for a start. But even when it was the date the stuff was released, it doesn't mean it was fact. It was someone else's opinion. Just like this is our opinion. Dan just said this is our opinion here. This was someone's opinion of what football should be. And having been coached by some of these people, I can tell you they're not the best people that I've been coached by at all. And so just question what you're hearing, basically.
Going off sort of, that topic. First of all, football is about sharing knowledge. That's what it is. Football is about sharing knowledge. This platform is for us to share our opinion. You will agree with some, you will disagree with some. Some of the questions that we've had, some of the posts, the comments in some of the posts, everyone's always learning. If you think you know it all, then you're in the wrong sport. So we're just giving our opinion. With regards to the 4-corner module, if you've never coached before, it's a great guideline. If you're new to coaching, it's just guidance. My issue with it is some coaches that are a lot more experienced, that's all it is. It's black and white, and you have to follow it word for word. As a coach, you have to be aware every single player is different. So you thinking you can do a 4-corner module, tick all the boxes in a session, every player's outcome individually or collectively is going to be very different. So it's just very important. This conversation is more for coaches. For parents, I would just like to say it's important that your son or daughter is learning 1 or 2 things in a session. I've seen some sessions, and knowing what the topic was going to be this week, I was on the gram a lot, looking at different topics, looking at different videos. And some of these coaches are coaching 5 or 6 different things. They're mic'd up, they're talking about all the different things that they're coaching. Your son or daughter cannot take on that much information. Darius had a video up, and I've seen a couple of his sessions, and he sticks to one or two bits of information for a session. It's in, it's out. However, some of these videos that I saw on social media, they're talking for about 2.5 minutes while all the kids are around them. The boys and girls are going to lose interest. If you're teaching them 4 or 5 different things in a session, I personally feel you're telling them too much. So this is just my opinion, what I look out for if I'm looking for a coach for my son. But with regards to the 4 corner modules, the good bits and the bad bits are, yeah, if you're just learning, then it's great guidance. If you are an experienced coach, yeah, it has to be different. Every player, every session is different. Kai, don't confuse players. That's all it is. Do not confuse players.
Yeah,
information overload.
Yeah, Dan, just off the back of that, I would say, yeah, the 4 corner, that kind of concept, I think once you have it in your head, it's just something to have in your head when you go into a session, when you're planning your session, because most of those things will get ticked if you were to plan a good session anyway. You know, it's one of those things where it's good to know, as you said, when you're early on, to be like, oh, okay, this, and this. But once you have it in your head, your session should look like that anyway. But the one thing I'd say, yeah, on coaches talking a lot, I see a lot of these videos. One pops up, a Scouser, and he sounds really good. And I do like the Liverpool accent because I went to university there. And it's like he's giving like a speech, and there's a film. Like there must be a film camera around, and he's saying these things. And I'm like, if my youth coach was talking, if my youth coach was talking like this, like some motivational speaker, you know, I get it, one-off, but every other video, it's just self-promotion. You know, it goes back to what you guys were saying.
It gets the views, and this was the original post that we spoke about. So, and listen, that coach that you're talking about, some of his sessions I've stolen. Like, they're great sessions. However, yeah, you're a football coach. You're not a motivational speaker.
Yeah, and I think the FA had one thing. I think they called it ball rolling time, and it was, you know, I think that kind of goes to the heart of it. Where when kids turn up for a training session, I don't think it has to be that complicated. If they're playing for the majority of the session, they're playing football. That's a good session in my mind. As simple as it sounds, and I get it. You know, when you do 1v1 stuff, there is an onus on the coach to make it specific and very relevant to some specific skill, but you know, for the most part, a session that's a team session or a small group session, it should be the ball's rolling, the kids are playing. That's how I look at it.
Dan, is 8 p.m. a hard finish time, or can we go over?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, just after 8, because I think saving the live, we might lose it if it's over an hour, a lot over an hour.
Is it do you know if it's
not
an hour?
But over an hour it gets a bit tricky then.
Okay. Do you want to go through any questions to finish? We were meant to get rid of Tom ages ago, but he keeps hanging around like a bad smell, so we'll keep him to answer some questions.
The most important question from today's live. Apps, where you at, baby? Going quiet.
Let me just check. Live. I have a request.
Mate, I'm gonna depart, innit?
No, stay on.
No, stay here. Stay here.
All right.
Apps, let's see. Bring a question.
Hello,
What's
mate.
going on? You good?
All good. Right. Who doesn't know what they're talking about?
Well, you tell me.
What?
You tell me.
Oh no, you said it, didn't you?
Agree with? Is there anything we've said you don't agree with?
All right. Okay. Let's look at this subjectively. Yeah, there's plenty I don't agree with. There's a couple of things that you said about name some top players that have come out of that haven't come out of rich academies. I named about 10. You completely ignored the comment.
So before I haven't been able to see many of the comments. I've been hosting the thing, so I'm not
like this. Dan's been like this.
I'm trying to read the yeah, but there's so many going.
So don't do that. I know you saw the comment.
Who are the players?
Hold on, hold on. We've got you on. We've got you on. So we want to debate. No problem.
No, this is very, very good. So I want to try to address them in chronological order if possible. So it started out by you trying to belittle me saying that top players, that money doesn't develop players. And you try to disagree with that by saying, oh, name an academy, name an academy that's...
Wait,
so I'm trying to remember...
Who tried to...
Dan said,
sorry.
Hold on, I'm just trying to remember exactly what he said.
That's
he said,
me. I said name an academy, something to do with, that is poor, that can produce consistent players.
I disagreed. I disagreed with that point, actually.
No, and you actually did. To be fair, you actually did. You definitely did. Right. So
well, they've never met each other. before, so there's no like collusion between them. They've got completely different
No,
opinions.
but I
So
have met Dan
yeah,
a
go
few
on.
times. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with that, if you look at clubs in Brazil, academies in Brazil, some of the poorest conditions you can think of. Africa. Let's not even talk about Brazil
Oh, I
because
was
that's far
meaning
too cliche.
England,
It's
by the
far.
way.
You didn't say
Okay, go
England.
on.
I'm talking about
Let's
the
go.
world. So you made a comment which is very
Go
broad.
on.
So I thought I'd answer it in a broad sense. So you said name a top player that's come out of an academy that isn't rich. I named about 10 clubs that consistently produce players and have done for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Money doesn't develop players. It's that simple. If you've got a group of coaches or a group of people that can come together and say, right, okay, how do we actually develop talent? There is no golden recipe to actually develop any one particular person because all the
Yeah.
individuals are completely different. So instead, you have to go, all right, okay, so what's actually best for this environment? You've got to look at things a bit more objectively. You've got to try to strip things back and peel back the layers and go, right, okay, let's actually look at this. What is it that we're looking for? And what we tend to do a lot in this country, not so much in other countries, is that what we tend to do is we have things called player profiles, which I'm sure Dan, we're all well aware of here. A player profile. So a club will say, what do we want this particular player to look like? Well, I want my centre halves to be at least 6'1". Cool, no problem. I want them to be really quick. I want them to be really strong. Well, actually, that ticks all the boxes for pretty much every single club in this country, every single academy. Okay, so actually, what we're producing in this country is athletes that can play football rather than footballers. Period. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So we're talking about development on a broad scale. There is no golden recipe for development. It's a mixture of elements. And it's having the right people around you, pretty much really, if I'm honest, at the right time, that can bring the best out of you in any one particular moment. Now, it's not just about knowledge, it's also about a bit of passion and encouragement. And this is where coaching, actual coaching comes into it. What is coaching? Coaching is more than just knowledge. It's life experience. It's actually getting to know people, getting to know the individual. We cannot possibly develop a player if you don't actually know them or care about them. So this is why I'm somebody that's decided this year alone. I've worked for Crystal Palace, QPR, I've worked for so many different clubs. This year I decided I'm not working in professional academies anymore. I'm not doing it because the system isn't fit for purpose. Any company or any business in the world that wasted more than it produced would be shut down immediately. Immediately. The, the academy system is not fit for purpose simply because it wastes more than it produces. Now, any system that does that, clearly there's a big problem. So what is it that we're getting so very badly wrong? Well, our holistic approach to coaching, all these kinds of things, it's completely wrong. We've got a one-size-fits-all philosophy at every single club. It's completely wrong.
So I think you're actually agreeing with a lot of what we're saying, surely. One thing though, you said that money doesn't develop players, and I've got to pick you up on this a little
Yeah,
bit. So before English clubs had all the money, which we do
yeah.
now, English clubs have all the money
Fantastically
basically now.
marketed, yeah, of course.
Before we did have that, we did not produce players on the same level as pretty much everyone else. They produced better players than
Yeah.
us. Now that we've got the money and we can do player profiling like we can go to the depth that we can. We are producing players on a similar level to countries with less
No,
resources
we're
of us
not.
than
No,
us.
we're not. No, we're not. We've got a fantastic media system in this country where
Hold on. All
where
right.
we
No,
big
but
up
you're
all the
arguing. Hold on.
players. Well,
You're actually arguing my
yeah,
point. Hold
absolutely.
on one
Okay,
second.
go on.
You're actually arguing
Go
my
on.
point. So I'm saying we should be doing much better. I think Dan is saying the exact same thing. We're saying at best England is now punching at the same level as some of these countries. That's what we're
And I
saying.
disagree.
Hold on. All right, that's fine, but that's actually arguing our point and enhancing what we're trying to say. That's enhancing our stance. You're not arguing against us.
I think you'll find that I am to a certain degree. Look, two things can be right at the same time. We're kind of pulling in a similar direction, but what I'm saying is very, very different to what you're saying. We tend to overhype players from this country, but also we tend to look at other
Hold-
elements. We also look at other elements of football and we glorify it simply because it's entertaining, things like flair and skill. So we will say, we're producing
Surely this sounds exactly like what I
I'm
say all the
agreeing
time,
with you.
Dan. No,
listen.
I think
I don't know because
I think this is exactly what I
I,
say all the time.
I haven't heard all of you guys'
So,
conversations,
so
and I haven't been on this one
Tom
for
is
too
the one.
long.
Yeah,
One second.
I
So,
would probably disagree. I would
Tom,
probably
hold
disagree
on.
with you more than these
Tom,
two.
one sec.
Yeah.
Let's just establish where we all are here. So, Tom, I argue with Tom a lot, and basically what I say is not just Tom, but a lot of people about English development. There's an echo here.
It's probably my
Where's that
headphones.
coming?
Probably my
Yeah.
That's cheap crap. I apologize.
Is there a way? take them out
Yeah,
and
I'll
still
take
hear?
them off. I'll take them off. Let's see if it still works on them.
Go on.
There's no echo my
Is that
end, to be fair.
Yeah, that's better.
There you go.
So that's better. So everything you just said, English players are overhyped. That's literally what I'm arguing the whole time. So you're not like disagreeing with basically what we're saying. Tom maybe is coming at it from a different point. Go on, Tom.
Disagree, to be fair, a little, mainly, but yeah, I don't really think that. I think because we live in England, who do we hear about? We hear about the English players. You go to Brazil, someone might say Neymar's overhyped. They might say, you know what I mean, because they love their own players and they talk about their own players, and anything they do is, any next player coming up. We live in England, so for me, I just the overhype narrative is. I think we're looking at it just because we're English and we see that and we reject that. And I used to maybe think similar. Like, I think that's what every country does about the players that are coming up.
To a certain degree.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But what I'm saying is the money that we've had has allowed us to at least bridge the gap. That's what's bridged the gap.
Just throwing it out there
but this is the issue.
Money. With regards to money, and this is why I believe money is the most important thing, because from the age where players start making money and with the investments, player liaison, strength and conditioning coaches, position specific coaches, foundation, pre-academy, elite pathways, development centers, your coaches, your assistant managers, your managers, everyone that is behind the scenes, the secretary, the welfare, the amount of money that is needed to employ these people, the reason why...
This is how England has bridged the gap.
This is how it's but is that not a little bit more concerning? Because Africa are doing this without any of those things.
The biggest
exactly.
thing
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
So actually, what we're saying is money's bridging a gap that talent is not. Let me say that again in case you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Money is bridging a gap that we don't have in talent in terms of coaching.
Yes. Again, I just think you're arguing our points. I think you're arguing our points. It's exactly what we're saying.
Actually not. I'm going to pinpoint one particular thing that Dan said.
You keep saying that and then saying exactly what I say all the time.
But I've not heard the whole conversation, so I'm just saying what's on my heart.
Okay.
So I apologise to you personally. And Dan, I'm not attacking you deliberately, but it just so happens that you're the one that's made certain that said certain.
I like it. Go on.
So you made a comment and you said, what is it? So we're talking about money, and I can't remember exactly what it was that you said, but this is what I'm going to say to you about money, and it's all to do with money and to do with development and coaching. If we need money to bridge the gap with facilities and staff, what does it say about the education system for coaches in this country? It says that it's substandard.
We're agreeing.
It says that it's
We're agreeing.
So
we're agreeing.
We have to look more now at processes and methods. You can't just keep implementing processes to bridge the gap in talent. What we lack in talent here, as far as coaching goes. Now, what sadly Dad has done is, rather than challenge me intellectually, he name dropped. I've coached this person and I've coached that kind of player, so therefore I should know more. But it kind of insinuates that you are therefore better in knowledge than I am because of who.
Okay, no, hold on.
No. But I just want to make a point.
I just want to defend him for that, because
the fact that
so what's happened
is poor. That shows the mentality of the English coach. If we're having to do that, if we have to try to belittle somebody with your own experiences, that in itself shows why you are where you are.
Okay, so can I come back at that? So basically, you've come and belittled us, is what happened.
No,
let's have it right.
I haven't belittled anybody.
Listen to what. And the reason you came up was Dan read your comment out, which said it'd be good if they had someone who knew what they were talking about.
And I wasn't wrong.
So that is probably.
And I wasn't wrong.
Right? No.
Is that not belittling us?
I like this, and this is the whole point of it. Everyone's gonna have their different opinion.
It should. But he's come on and said the exact same things that I was saying, so I don't know how it's.
Because look, like I said, I've only heard a small portion of this conversation, and I heard enough. I heard enough idiosyncrasies for me to say this is insane. This is absolutely insane, and only because we're talking about actual player development. There's a misconception that you can play the game and know how to coach and know how to develop. So wrong. It's unbelievably wrong.
Say that
you
again.
have to be able to look at the game objectively and break it down.
All right. He said there's a misconception that if you play the game, you know how to coach, basically. or
something to that effect. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that what we have to try to do is leave our ego at the door. So when somebody respectfully tries to irrefute what you're saying, don't tell me who you coach. Show me your knowledge set. Show me your skill set. And you actually done that by making the comment that you made. And again, and then I followed up by saying, you might be able to pull the wool over the parents' eyes that are in this chat, but not the coaches. The guys that actually coach the game. You can't pull the wool over their eyes with some of the things that has come out of certain people's mouths. So what I'm actually trying to say is, let's leave our egos at the door. And if we're going to have a real conversation about development, sometimes it involves us being a little bit more naked with ourselves.
This obviously has to be played back, and it has to be something that's actually interesting. At the moment, you're just going at people.
No,
hold on. It's time sensitive now, so we have to wrap up.
Okay.
So if there's one point, don't do that. Don't do that, because we got you on when we didn't need to. No, listen. No, not all of a sudden. We spoke about this, Dan. We spoke about this 15 minutes ago. We said, is the 8 o'clock a hard limit? And he said, no, but we can't go too far over an hour. So, all right. So how do you know? Well, anyway, regardless, if there's one point you had to pick one of us three, anything up on, but you need to make it succinctly and quickly, and then we can respond, and then we need to end the episode because it's getting a bit silly. It's not. We need it to be talking about football. It doesn't need to be any of this.
Are you available next Sunday, 7
Brother,
o'clock?
I'll make myself available for you.
Right,
no problem.
Part 2. But go on, yeah. So to finish with your question.
Go on, one point. Make it succinctly. If we need to respond, if someone feels the need to respond, and then we're going to end the episode because I don't want to lose it.
So,
Let's go.
So you're saying, do I have any one particular thing that I want to irrefute now? Just one particular point. It's that money develops players. It doesn't. End of. It doesn't. Money doesn't develop players. Money buys facilities and it buys services, but it doesn't develop players.
Okay. So, but you also have said about 10 minutes ago, if money bridges the gap, then that's a problem. So you kind of conceded to the fact that I was saying money is what has bridged the gap.
No, money is 100%. Money has done other things. It's provided
money didn't develop one player.
Better pitches. Look, we're so overprivileged
all those
in
things.
this country.
All those things contributed to
not having facilities. We don't have this. We don't have that.
Nah, Rob, you got him there. You got him there, Rob. I must admit, because I kind of agree with his point. I agree with his point, but he contradicted himself.
No, go on. Go for it. No, because you're listening to.
No, I just said how you.
But you're not actually listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying to you that money might buy services and trying to implement. Buy services and facilities.
But all those things are what contribute.
So what I'm saying is,
but all of those things.
Spend so much money to house facilities and have all this technology.
Yes.
What does it say about the education?
Agreed.
It means the education.
Agreed. Exactly, and that's what I said. So hold on.
So there's no contradiction in the point. If you don't,
100% there is. 100% there is. No,
but there's no contradiction.
No, it isn't. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm going to talk, and then it's going to.
And then
next week we can.
Go on. It's your show.
Then we're going to.
I'm just a bystander. I'm just here. I'm here.
Next week, you're not a bystander. You're a guest on the show. Next week you can be a guest. Next week you're the host. You're the host. It's not as easy as it looks. Dan was brilliant. I'm struggling. Look, I can't even keep order. Right. So listen, you said money doesn't develop players, and then you said, hold on, that's it. That's a fact. You said that, and then you said money has helped us bridge the gap.
No, you said
both
money
of those.
helped us bridge the gap.
You said it.
Money
You said
it.
Come on, coach.
We can't. Hold on. Stop. 1 second. You did actually say it. Okay, we can come back. Hold on. We can come back to it next week. But the video will be there where you actually said it. It won't be out of context. Everything that was said, I'm gonna have it. Okay. So next week we can continue it.
No problem.
Sorry. What was your name?
Apple. Yeah.
Apple. Right. Thanks for coming on. Tom, absolutely top man. Well argued with your points there, even though I don't agree with half of what you're saying. You argued really well. Dan, anything before we go?
No, listen, this is what we want. It's a community. Like, people are going to agree and disagree with what every single one of us say, but we've all got experience and we're all talking about our journeys and we're going to learn from it. Stuff that Apple said, I'm going to learn from. Stuff that you've said, I'm going to like, and that's all it is. And football is about opinions. That's all this is. The fact that Apple came on, listen, shows we need he is the star of the show. So we need him.
Rob, can I say one last? Can I have one last?
Go on, Tom.
All I'd say, because I was
You're going to
agreeing with
advertise
Apple.
your 1v1 coaching, aren't you?
I was going to agree with Apple, and this is all I'll say before I leave. I think obviously he messed up because he contradicted himself. But all I would say is the point is money can help develop talent, but I don't think money is the main factor. That's, I think, the point he was making that he kind of contradicted himself on. But I agree with that point. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, all I'll say is it's the only difference that's happened. Culture stayed the same in England. We still love tackling, running, and all that stuff. Culture has stayed the same. Culture has stayed the same in all the other countries too. What's changed is, whereas everyone had money, now England suddenly has money and no one else.
But you even mentioned the culture of 1v1 and all this flair and all the the ball mastery. That's a change in the culture. But
it actually is.
I would say that's
an improvement. It's an improvement.
And maybe
it's an improvement.
Dan, this is
but a lot of the culture.
I know that you come up in the academy system in a specific era. Would you now? Obviously, you work in the system. We both work in the system. Would you agree when I say that the academy system has gotten a hell of a lot softer from our generation as kids to how it is now with us as adults?
That's society. That's not just the academy.
Well, I actually agree with that as well. So I didn't want to go there, but yeah, no, I definitely agree.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I don't have a strong opinion on that either way. Like I really don't.
For a reason though. I made that comment for a reason though, because the objective is to try to prepare these players and to prepare these young people for the real world, which is competitive football. How realistic is it for you to go into a real football match where results matter? So let's talk non-league football, for instance. How realistic is it that you're going to actually be able to play out from the back every single time? And you can receive the ball on the half turn so very nicely without getting kicked 6 foot up in the air. We don't see that realism in the academy system so much anymore. So what I'm saying is, how fit for purpose is it? If it's
that's not the level. That's not the level they're trying to develop players for, though. They're developing players for the elite level where they will be trying to build out from the back.
So leads into the Project Footballers' latest podcast.
Yeah,
where Sean
was on there.
Spoke to
that was great.
Players, and that just proves Apple's point in terms of players that don't make it when they filter down. If you've not watched it on YouTube or listened back to it, I totally agree with that point. Where
can I find that, please, Dan? Because I need to watch that.
Project Footballer YouTube.
I need to watch some stuff so I know what you said and what you haven't said.
Project Footballer YouTube channel.
Right, yeah,
Project Footballer YouTube channel. We gotta go.
Yeah, we need to save it.
Yeah, boys.
I think you've got about a minute left before it goes. Thank you.
All right. What do I have to press?
When you close
what do I have to press?
Top right, it will say post and just press yes.
All right. So just X at the top right is fine. Yeah. All right.
Guys,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Speak to you later. Well done.